directory for ASP.NET or network service or whichever account is used, when you run IIS. And I just set it to full permissions, and then I set it to inherit, every directory that's created. So every one of my portals that I build, I get the same permissions into. Okay, so I don't have to worry about directory permissions every time I do something. All right, so I'm going to just go into this portal here and do this manually. So desktop modules. Here's the Rocksdot suggestion. That's the module that I'm going to install here. And I'm just going to delete everything that's in there. Whoops. Okay. I'm going to hopefully. This is my actual live development place. So I just, that's why I'm hoping everything is backed up. Usually I'm really good about doing that, but if I lost something, it's not going to be very big. So now what I've got is a portal that does not have this module in it, so it's not registered in the module. And in fact, the other thing I need to do is go and run SQL Management Studio and just make sure that the tables are not there in the database. Sorry, this is the cleanup work I was talking about. Yeah, so I figured that they were probably still there. So all right. So I'll take care. Well, let me just delete them. Because I got store procedures and everything. So
do you have an uninstall script?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So here's typically what you're going to find in a scenario where you're going to do module development. You're going to have a couple of files that you can download from, in the case of community people or the .NET core modules, you're going to be able to download two files. One is an install file and the other is a source code file. In the case of commercial modules, you're probably only going to get an install file unless you pay extra for the source. Okay, so I'm talking about like community stuff here, and this is a module that will be available through the book website. And this is the one that I use as examples in the book. And it's the one that I started in version 1, .NET originally. Now, so I'm not going to use the install version this time like I did with the FAQ module. I'm going to use this source version. So what you can do is you can walk into the host module definitions and install that, and you'll actually end up with everything in the directory that you need ready to run, everything registered and ready to go. Just like with the regular module, you'll be able to add it to a page. Right? I'm not going to do it that way, though. I'm going to do it manually so you can see what happens during each of the steps that you walk through as you begin to do module development. So I'm going to go to the host page where I'm already there, and I'm going to do, back up. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to extract all to my project directory, and ENN, R2, desktop modules, sorry, one more suggestion, there we go. Okay. Now hopefully, okay, good. Everything's there that I need. So what I'm going to do is there's a couple of files. Here's the actual database script install file, and then this one is the uninstall file. So I'm going to go back to the host, since I have my database objects are still there. The first thing I'm going to do is go to the host SQL page, and I'm going to browse for that uninstall file just to get rid of everything in the database. Okay. This is the one thing in Vista that kind of drives me nuts is the constant navigation you have to do. Okay, suggestion. Here we go. Here's the uninstall provider file. I load that. I just want to execute it real quick to clean up my database. Okay, good. Now in this case, red means good. I wish they would be consistent about that. Okay. So now there's basically three things you have to do, or four things you have to do. So let me go back to my directory then. where I just unzipped my files. Okay, so here they are. So now what's in here is essentially the runtime files. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two DLLs that I got and I'm going to put them in the portal bin directory. So this is done automatically during an install. But I'm going to move those two DLLs. That's the data provider and the actual module code itself. Okay, and then the other thing is that it leaves me with a zip file inside which is full of resources. And I'm going to actually extract all that to here. And the source code appears. Okay, so the source code was hidden inside that zip file. And what we find now is we have some more directories that have code in them. And there's also providers, data providers, SQL data provider, which is where the project is for the data provider part of it. So now back in here, so there's several things that we have to do in order to get this thing to run to actually run. So now what I've essentially done is downloaded a pre-existing module. I'm going to use it for reference, or I'm going to use it as a starting point for my own development. But what I got to do is get it installed into the portal and ready to run. So we got to modify the, we have to add the database objects, okay? Then we have to register the module in .NetNuke, so it knows where our user controls are, okay? So those are the two things we're going to do right now. So the data provider file here, if I just open that in Notepad, come on. Okay. So what we can see here is that the first thing it does is it checks to see if the objects are there and it deletes them. And then it adds back the tables, the indexes, any constraints that you need, all that stuff. You have to think about that, set it up, do proper database design, build good table designs with indexes and all that stuff so that you have a performant module. Okay? And you'll notice right in here, all through this, you see these tags, database owner, object qualifier, in front of every database object name. Okay? So if you want to run this in SQL Management Studio, you've got to go through manually and edit those things out. Okay? The easy way to execute these, though, is through that host SQL page, where .NetNuke takes the entries that are in your web config file and automatically replaces the tags in this file. So basically what I'm going to do is just copy what's in here, go back to that page, put that file in here. You always want to check run as script and then click execute. And once the page refreshes, hopefully we will see the query completed successfully again.
In red.
In red. Bingo. Okay. So now what has happened is that our tables are created and all the stored procedures are there that we need in SQL Server. And we can actually go back over to SQL Management Studio and check that if we want to. I have to go and refresh the list. But there's the tables here. So there's two tables in this module, and then there's under programmability stored procedures, you'll see that the list of stored procedures are at the bottom, and they're all called rocks underscore. And then, so basically, again, you want to use your company name, and since I'm writing for Rock's books, I use their name. All right, you want to preface everything with some sort of a unique prefix so that you don't have name collisions with any other custom module that gets installed in the portal. Okay, so that's that part. Now, the other thing that we need to do is register the module itself in the portal. So I'm going to go back to the module definitions page. Now, this is where we would normally install modules from, using the install module. But we can also do, we can create a new module which lets us enter this stuff manually, which you'll often do as you're doing your own project development. You have to bootstrap yourself, so you do a create new module. But in this case, we have the install file, so we have the .dnn manifest file that explains what all the definitions should be. So I'm just going to click import module definition and use the one that came with the module. And a little bit of magic here, if you go to the manifest and click the drop-down, you'll see that because you're in the desktop modules folder, it scans down through looking for DNN files and it adds it to that drop-down list automatically, so you don't have to go browse for it. And now click import manifest, and what it should do is create all of the, again, red is bad here, it should create all the definitions required. So then let's go back and look at what it created. Down here we'll find